Hello everyone, welcome to History and Culture. Among the many generals who served under Emperor Qin Shi Huang, the most trusted and revered was undoubtedly Meng Tian, known as the #1 warrior of Great Qin. He was not only brave and loyal, but also embodied the glory and legacy of the Meng family's 3 generations in service to the Qin state. According to the records of the Grand Historian, biography of Meng Tian, the Meng family originally hailed from the state of Qi and had, for generations, excelled in cavalry and archery warfare. They had long lived at the foot of Mount Meng in Qi. Meng Tian's grandfather, Meng Ao, was a valiant and wise general who, during the reign of King Zhao of Qin, responded to the Qin state's call for talent and pledged allegiance to the Qin ruler. Soon after, Meng Ao, through his own abilities, was heavily relied upon, leading troops in campaigns across the land, capturing over 100 cities and amassing extraordinary military achievements. His son, Meng Wu, did not let the family down. Trained in the army since childhood, he later made great contributions during Qin's conquest of the state of Chu. As the descendant of a famous general, Meng Tian was ambitious from a young age, loved swordsmanship and martial arts, and often studied military strategy through the night, tirelessly. Regardless of winter's cold or summer's heat, he never paused his training. One could say that yet another hero of the Meng clan was ready to make his mark on history. In 221 BCE, Qin Shi Huang unified the 6 states, and Meng Wu, having accomplished his mission in the Chu campaign, chose to retire. He recommended to the emperor his son Meng Tian, who had honed his skills on the battlefield for many years, to continue serving the nation. Qin Shi Huang accepted the advice, summoned Meng Tian in person, and tasked him with leading the campaign against the state of Qi. This battle was not only the final step in the unification of the realm, but also a key moment for the Meng family to return to their ancestral homeland. Though Qi was the land of their forefathers, the Meng clan's 3 generations had dedicated themselves to Qin, forming an unbreakable bond. Without hesitation, Meng Tian led his troops valiantly and quickly conquered Qi, earning high praise from the emperor, who promptly appointed him as Grand Internal Minister. As the saying goes, father and son go to war together, brothers fight tigers side by side. From this point on, Meng Tian and his younger brother Meng Yi officially inherited the family legacy. One commanded the army externally, while the other advised on internal state affairs. Working in perfect harmony and under the full trust of Qin Shi Huang, the 2 brothers elevated the glory of the Meng family to its peak. In 220 BCE, with China unified under Qin rule and peace temporarily achieved, a powerful enemy still loomed on the northwestern frontier, the Xiongnu. This nomadic people frequently launched southern raids, harassing the borders, coveting the fertile lands of the Central Plains. To fully suppress the Xiongnu threat, the emperor ordered Meng Tian to lead a force of 300,000 troops northward. Despite the harsh climate, raging sands, and logistical difficulties in the northern frontier, Meng Tian and his soldiers demonstrated extraordinary perseverance and resolve. They launched swift offensives, recapturing the Hetao region and occupying the Shang commandery, forcing the Xiongnu to retreat 700 li and keeping them away from Mount Yin. To prevent the Xiongnu from returning in force, Meng Tian proposed that the emperor dispatch laborers and craftsmen to build fortresses and walls along the Yellow River, thereby reinforcing the frontier defenses. From that moment on, Meng Tian devoted all his energy and the rest of his life to the defense of the northern border and the protection of the empire. His contributions on the frontier allowed Qin Shi Huang to rule peacefully from the capital, without concern for threats behind him. However, fate had other plans. In 210 BCE, while on an inspection tour, Qin Shi Huang suddenly passed away. At the time, Meng Tian was still stationed at the border, unaware of the situation, and did not know that his own fate was quietly being altered. Qin Shi Huang had greatly favored Zhao Gao, head of the imperial carriage office. But Zhao Gao had long held a grudge against Meng Tian. Once, due to a mistake in duty, Zhao Gao was nearly punished by Meng Tian. And he harbored resentment ever since. Upon the emperor's death, Zhao Gao conspired with Prime Minister Li Si and the emperor's younger son Hu Hai to falsify the imperial edict and secretly ordered Meng Tian to take his own life. Thus, the once mighty general who had commanded the winds and clouds on the frontier was suddenly imprisoned. At that moment, Zhao Gao and his conspirators were still far away in Shakyu, and only a few messengers were present around Meng Tian. Had Meng Tian chosen to resist, he could have easily issued a single order to recall the 300,000 soldiers under his command and eliminate his political enemies. However, Meng Tian always prioritized loyalty and righteousness. He was unwilling to tarnish 3 generations of Meng family honor for his own gain. Nor did he wish to plunge the nation back into warfare. In the end, he chose to obey the so-called imperial decree, repaying Qin Shi Huang's lifelong favor with his death. After Meng Tian's death, his subordinates wept bitterly and were overcome with grief. Many even used their own hands to dig into the earth to bury him on the spot. Today, the tomb of Meng Tian in Shrouded County, Shaanxi, stands as a witness to this loyal soul returning to the earth. According to local county records, after the tomb was completed, the people of the Shang commandery, moved by his unjust death, would often come to pay their respects. During each ceremony, they would bring a handful of yellow earth to add to his tomb. Year after year, as spring gave way to autumn, people continued to add shovelfuls of earth to the mound. Eventually, the burial site rose into a small hill more than 50 meters high. From a distance, it resembled a solitary earthen knoll, solemn and dignified, evoking deep reverence for the weight of loyalty and righteousness. Later on, cypress and pine trees were planted atop the tomb, ensuring it remained verdant throughout the seasons. The atmosphere was solemn and tranquil, as if still standing guard over the slumbering hero beneath. However, the relentless passage of over 2,200 years has inevitably eroded all things. The once majestic tomb mound gradually fell into disrepair and overgrowth. As an old saying goes, spring grass invades the tomb path, and in the borderlands of 1,000 years, grievances lie buried. The loyal bones of a once renowned general were slowly forgotten in the dust of history. It wasn't until the 1960s that this long-sealed ancient tomb once again drew public attention. In 1962, during an archaeological survey in Shrouded, experts discovered a large hole at the top of the mound, likely the remains of a tomb robber's tunnel. To determine whether the tomb remained intact, the team quickly launched an investigation and excavation. During the excavation, experts followed the robber's tunnel downward and collected soil samples for analysis. The tamped earth of the tomb mound was confirmed to date back to the Qin dynasty, definitively identifying it as a Qin-era tomb, none other than that of General Meng Tian. However, when they dug about 3 meters deep, the soil layer abruptly gave way to a bed of hard crushed stones, and the robber's tunnel ended there. Experts concluded that although the tomb robbers had broken through the rammed earth layer, they were thwarted by the layer of crushed stones and failed to reach the actual burial chamber. This strongly suggested that Meng Tian's tomb remained intact and undisturbed, a rare and exceptionally well-preserved general's tomb from the Qin dynasty. In archaeology, there is an unwritten rule: well-preserved ancient tombs, especially those over 2,000 years old, should not be excavated unless there is a major discovery or significant research need. As such, the experts ultimately decided to preserve the tomb in its original state and resealed the robber's tunnel. The crushed stone structure found in the tomb was a common ancient anti-theft design, similar in concept to the quicksand tomb defense mechanism. These layered traps were likely key to allowing Meng Tian's loyal spirit to rest peacefully for over a millennium. Over the following decades, archaeologists in Shaanxi continued to visit and protect Meng Tian's tomb, ensuring it was spared from human damage. Today, the tomb still stands in its original place. Though weathered and covered in vegetation, it remains a symbol of a general's loyalty and honor, a heavy echo from the glorious history of the Qin Empire. According to historical records, in 223 BCE, General Meng Tian was leading military campaigns away from the capital. In order to report battlefield developments to Emperor Qin Shi Huang, he frequently had to write dispatches. At the time, people mainly used bamboo slips for writing, and they wrote with a hard-tipped brush dipped in ink. However, this type of brush could only write a few characters before needing to be dipped again, which was highly inconvenient. One day, while leading his troops on a hunting expedition, Meng Tian happened to notice the tail of a rabbit dragging across the ground, leaving streaks of blood behind. This sight sparked an idea in his mind: what if soft fur could be used in place of hard-tipped brushes? Would writing become smoother and more efficient? Inspired, he immediately cut off some rabbit hair and inserted it into a hollow bamboo tube, attempting to make a rudimentary brush pen. Excited, he tried writing with it, but quickly discovered that the rabbit fur was too oily and glossy to absorb ink properly, making it awkward to use. After several failed attempts, he grew frustrated and casually tossed the pen into a stone pit outside his door. A few days later, by chance, he noticed the discarded rabbit hair pen still lying in the pit. Curious, he picked it up and found the fur had become soft and white. He tried dipping it in ink again, and to his surprise, it now wrote smoothly and effortlessly, as if the brush had suddenly become obedient. Only then did Meng Tian realize that the water in the pit likely contained lime, making it alkaline. Soaking the brush for several days had removed the oils from the rabbit hair, rendering it soft, absorbent, and suitable for writing. This accidental discovery enabled him to successfully create a functional brush pen. According to legend, this is how the brush pen came to be. However, modern archaeological findings suggest that the history of the brush pen predates this story by a significant margin. Brush pens had already existed and were in use prior to Meng Tian's time. Meng Tian's true contribution lay in refining and popularizing the craft of brush making. He played a key role in improving the usability and aesthetic appeal of brush pens, an achievement of undeniable historical importance. It is said that Meng Tian chose the finest rabbit hair from the Zhongshan region of the Zhao state, particularly the soft, delicate hair of autumn rabbits, to craft high-quality brushes. In fact, 3 finely made bamboo brush pens were unearthed from a Qin dynasty tomb in Yunmeng, Hubei province. These brushes had hollow bamboo shafts, with the brush head inserted into one end through a drilled hole, and were equipped with bamboo caps of the same length. To make the brush easier to remove, the cap featured a rectangular window 8.5 centimeters long. Each brush was coated in black lacquer and decorated with red lines, showcasing both practicality and elegance. These details reveal that the brush-making techniques of the time were already quite advanced, with thoughtful designs and craftsmanship that closely resemble modern brush pens. Compared to brushes made in the state of Chu during the Warring States period, Qin brushes clearly represented a step forward in technology and design. Thus, while the tale of Meng Tian inventing the brush may be somewhat mythical, his innovations and promotion of the brush pen undoubtedly played a pivotal role. Meng Tian left an indelible mark on one of the 4 treasures of the study in Chinese culture, the brush pen. This is the History and Culture channel. Liking and subscribing are the greatest help and support to us. Thank you everyone and see you in the next time.